Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to this episode of Magical Megan. I am your host, Megan, and today I'm going to be talking about something really, really serious. Something I said I was going to talk about, but I wanted to wait until we're a bit closer to the film coming out. It's a very, very heavy podcast, so this is sort of just like a warning before you listen that it's going to mention suicide, self-harm, depression, mental illness. So if you're uncomfortable or triggered by these topics, then please don't feel pressured to listen in. Feel free to click away. I don't want to be responsible for anyone being triggered or whatever. I just want you all to be safe when we talk about this. So, we're about 4 weeks now from The Crimes of Grindelwald coming out, and I wanted to just talk about Fantastic Beasts, like the first one, something very, very serious, as I said. So, as the title implies, I'm going to be talking about how Fantastic Beasts saved my life. I know you're probably all thinking, oh, she's being like a bit of an overdramatic drama queen, but this is something really, really close to me, something very, 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 difficult for me to talk about, like, especially out loud. It's really difficult to talk about out loud. And so due to the nature of this, and I don't want to have to keep on going over stuff, I'm going to just try and record it all the way through. I'll try maybe in post-production to edit out some of the longer gaps, but it's just, I want to kind of just get this all out there, just straight out, so I don't have to keep on going over it, because that's just not going to help at all. So yeah. Basically, I've been thinking about the first film since it came out, obviously, but it's, starting off, when Fantastic Beasts came out in November 2016, the first film, I was actually really very indifferent to it, because even though I've been a Harry Potter fan since I was 11, I was just, I work in a cinema, so that I still work in a cinema, and I worked at a cinema then. And so it was kind of like, I knew that once that film came out, it was going to be long shifts, long weekends, no rest, having to clean up after children, and, that all did happen. But it was also because I was a bit worried that it would ruin Harry Potter for me in a way. I'm sure many people worried about this, that they were like, oh, it's gonna ruin Harry Potter, they were just very worried about it, and I was very worried about it. But when I was working the weekend it came out, especially that first day of release, I was seeing people coming in and going out again, and I was cleaning the screens while the music was playing, and the end credit music, and then I was delivering food in when the film had started, and so I was catching little glimpses of it. And so I started to sort of remember my love for Harry Potter and how much I loved the magical world that J.K. Rowling had created. So I worked the Friday and Saturday of that opening weekend, and I had the Sunday off. And so on the Sunday, I ended up going out to my local Waterstones and buying the screenplay, as well as one of the making of books. Because I thought, right, well, I'll flick through these, see what it's like, and then if I want to go see it, then I'll go see it. And, I read the making of book, and I've spoken about this before on my blog, and I was looking through the making of book, and it was called The Case of Beasts or something, and I was going to read the screenplay later, but when I opened the Case of Beasts book, it just opened on Tina, so that was literally the first page I saw was about Tina, and I was immediately drawn in by the pictures, and I was reading the information and growing more and more interested, because as I was reading about her, I was like, this feels like I'm reading about myself. And I've got an excerpt here of something it says about her, and some of the stuff it says about her in the book, and it's like, she broke the rules in order to protect someone who was in trouble. When push comes to shove, she will abandon the rule book. She's a bit of a loner and underappreciated. What I love about Tina is she's flawed and often doesn't achieve what she's pursuing, or things don't always work out for her like she hopes. She has a lot of potential, but she can't seem to convince people of it. And these were quotes that immediately spoke to me. When I was reading them, I felt like I was reading about myself. And then I read that Tina had a younger sister called Queenie, who's a beautiful cook and bubbly, sociable, extremely likeable. And I was like, that's me and my sister, because I've got a younger sister. She's not blonde, and she's my sister at the time though used to love baking. She used to love cooking, so I immediately was like, oh wow, that's me and my sister. And so I kind of already loved Tove, but like I already loved Tina before I read the screenplay. And then when I did read the screenplay that night, I was just totally engrossed. Like, I mean, it did kind of spoil the film for me, obviously, but I was reading it and I was like, wow, okay, this is something I definitely want to watch. And I was going to see the film on the 24th November, which was 6 days after it came out, but my friend who I was going to go with was sick. So I was like, okay, we'll go on the 1st December. And in that time, I like changed my Tumblr username, had a picture of Tina as my Tumblr icon. I created an Instagram fan account that was just basically Tina photos. And I also cut off all my hair. I'd been trying to grow it out, but I ended up cutting all my hair off into this sort of bob. And I remember like the reference photos I used were of Tina. And I loved that bob so much, and I regret cutting it off. But so I cut all my hair off into a bob literally the day before I went and saw the film. And then I did go and see the film, and I just left crying. Like, my friend, bless her, she had to put up with me crying, because I just had fallen in love with it so much, and I developed such an attachment to it. And I'm going to be getting into why I have such an attachment to this, like such an intense emotional attachment to this. But what pushed me over the edge when I first watched the film was Newt and Tina's ending scene where they say goodbye to each other, and it's kind of like become almost like infamous in the Newt Tina shipping fandom. And I knew, having read the textbook when I was 11, that they were in fact going to end up married. I don't know if that's a spoiler alert, but they do end up married at some point. So it just seemed to make it all the more beautiful. And so my obsession grew after this point. Just a few days later, I took my sister to see it. And then I took her again a few days after that. And then 4 days after that, I went and saw it on my own. And by the time we got to Christmas, I had seen it 7 times. So 7 times in the space of like 3 weeks. And then I saw it 20 times before it was pulled from every cinema in England. And the reason it was pulled from every cinema in England, obviously, was I was watching it at the cinema where I work. They showed that until like early January, mid-January. And then I went to the cinema near where I live instead. And they were showing it until March. And then after that, I was going to Leicester Square every week until they released the DVD. So I went there a few times to Leicester Square, and then because they had the OAP screenings at Odeon, I ended up going to a few of those. And so in the end, my total for seeing Fantastic Beasts in the cinema is 23. So in hindsight, I recognise it seems far too much to watch one film. But each time I watched it, I felt like it was the first time I was watching it, like I was living in the magic and adventure. But as the title of this podcast implies, that's it's not just me being obsessive. There is deep personal reasons behind why I absolutely love this film and why I have such an attachment to it. And it, in so many ways, this film has helped me through so much, and it's even, as I said, saved my life. So a bit of background is that at the time the film was released, my grandmother on my mum's side was receiving chemotherapy for ovarian cancer. And I was so close to my nan when I was little. Like, she used to babysit me all the time. I used to go over to her house to help her out. I used to help her shopping. And so finding out she had cancer was really, really just the worst thing for me. Like, I was so inconsolable about it. And so, when the film came out, she was receiving chemotherapy. And when I was watching the film, it made me forget that she was going through this, and it made me feel hope that she'd get better. And I kind of said to her, I hope one day you can watch this with me, like maybe when the DVD comes out, because at this point she was bedridden. I said, maybe when the DVD comes out, we can watch it together. And it made me hope that she'd get better, but she didn't. And so on the 14th of January, which was the day after my 19th birthday, which was a whole ordeal we won't even go into, I found out that my nan wasn't going to get any better, and that the doctors couldn't do anything else, and so that was it. And like I was so distraught about it that I was supposed to see Fantastic Beasts the next day, and I thought about cancelling it, but then in the end I went because I decided I needed the distraction and the need to escape. So, you know, I kind of was using it as like a coping mechanism to deal with that. And to this day, I'm unbelievably thankful that I got to watch it with my grandmother, because when the DVD came out in March, I bought the Blu-ray because that's the one I really wanted, and I bought the normal one because she didn't have a Blu-ray player and I was going to go over to her house and watch it, and I just so I could watch it with her in her room. And from what I remember, what I know, she enjoyed it. She was lucid at this point and able to stay awake, and she, was herself, like rolling her eyes at me and tutting at the fact I started crying over the ending, and saying it was silly to cry over such things, which, it's just how my nan was. She was very affectionate, and it was the only time I got to watch the film with her. And so my nan passed away last August, and we knew it was going to happen, because we were told before, like a few days beforehand, it was going to be imminent. And nothing has hurt more than my grandmother passing away. And one of the things that hurts is that this film that has helped me so much, she won't see the rest of these movies. She won't see the last 4 of them. And I wonder if she really knew how much it really meant to me that she was around to see the first one. And, like I said, I am grateful that I got to watch the first one with her, because it was just this light in such a dark time for me, and watching it, like I said, was like escaping. And I felt so much stronger whenever I watched it, and it gave me the strength to, keep going with what was going on. And, as I've probably said before at some point, I used to watch a lot of movies with my grandmother, especially Harry Potter. She was like one of the only people who would watch Harry Potter with me and not fall asleep intentionally. So this, the Wizarding World does sort of remind me of my nan in that sense, is because she would sit and watch all of them with me without complaining. There are other issues that contributed to my intense love of the film, and they still do, because, these things don't just go away. And, when I was 13, I started to suffer from depression, or it really became worse, because when I was younger, I was showing signs of it as well. And by this point, I'd been bullied by the other kids for about 10 years, and, so it was like every day for 10 years, I had been called fat, ugly, disgusting, waste of space. And so, shortly after the depression became worse, I started to harm myself. And I really, really regretted doing it. I still really, really regret doing it. It really became a problem the year after. And I started to crave it more. And I'm not going to go into grisly details. I don't want to enable that kind of behaviour. This is not good behaviour. It's a very serious thing. And if you're thinking of doing it, then, and you haven't done it already, and you're thinking of using it, just don't. I'm begging you, please don't. Because once you start, it is the most difficult thing to get out of. I'd say it is so difficult. It just, yeah. And so I've been dealing with depression and self-harm and suicidal thoughts for about 8 years now, nearly 8 years. And, you're probably wondering, how does this link to Fantastic Beasts? And as I said, Fantastic Beasts became my coping mechanism, something that cheered me up no matter what, and it made me feel better. So I saw the strength of Tina Goldstein, and I took inspiration from her, and watching her, I felt like if she could keep going, then so could I. And through Fantastic Beasts, I discovered the work of Katherine Waterston, who plays Tina, and the music of Alison Sudol, who plays Queenie. And, as a drama student who wants to maybe go into acting one day, I just find such inspiration in Katherine. And, just in her whole career, like she's become sort of like my inspiration for acting. And you know, Alison's music, you know, I suffer from really, really bad insomnia, so and anxiety as well. So listening to Alison's music helps me sort of relax and feel a bit calmer, a bit less anxious. And you know, Alison Sudol is so lovely. She has been kind enough to tweet me with advice, and she's even dropped me like a couple personal messages, like private messages, to make sure I'm okay. And you know, she even like wrote a letter to me on Twitter that she then tweeted publicly. So she is absolutely lovely, and you know, she's just I don't even know what to say. She's just absolutely wonderful. So the reason I love Fantastic Beasts, as I said, is because it's my coping mechanism, the one thing that gave me a light to focus on during such a dark time. And there have been many, many times I considered ending it all. Too many to count, like, just too many. But then I would remind myself that if I went through with it, I would be missing out on the last 4 films of such an incredible story. And I would miss out on so much. And I would just remind myself, and I still do this, that Tina keeps going, you know, even when things are tough. And even when she was at the bottom and she was demoted, I was like, you know what, if she managed to keep going from the bottom, I can keep going. And I would be determined to be more like her by carrying on. And I even got the chance to cosplay as Tina for MCM Comic Con in May last year, and it's one I'm going to be doing next weekend when I go with my friend to Comic Con. And it was literally one of the best moments of my life, because I went to a meetup for Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts cosplayers. And when I got to the meetup, people were asking to take photos of me. When I was having lunch, someone asked to take photos of me. And there's a photo that I absolutely love, and it's of me dressed up as Tina with a cosplayer dressed up as Newt, and, you know, Newt handing Tina the book. So it was just, that whole day was literally the most surreal and wonderful day I've ever had in my entire life. So Fantastic Beasts has changed my life in so many other ways as well. So not only with helping me through my depression and my self-harm and my anxiety and all that, but it's also brought me together with some incredible online friends who I wouldn't have had the joy of talking to if it weren't for Beasts. And the amount of support and love I've received from other members of this fandom, for especially my writing, and, you know, people coming to me to talk, you know, to reassure me and comfort me when I've had a bad time in my personal life, it's just really overwhelming, and it you know, I'm tearing up just thinking about it. It's just wow. I can't believe the kind of reaction, like the kind of impact such one series has had on my life already. And, you know, people will tease and mock me for my intense love of this film and the later films. And I've even had that at work, with people kind of poking fun at the fact I've seen Fantastic Beasts so many times. I'm pretty sure my managers hate me because this whole, like, past year I've just been begging them to tell me when they're going to put tickets on for Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. And I know deep down I have my reasons for loving it so much, and I know that no one can take those away from me. And, you know, at the end of the day, I've always thought that these people can laugh at me and make fun of the fact it has just a big impact on me, but at the end of the day, it is what keeps me going. It's something that brings me so much happiness. It's something that has kept, you know, me from ending my own life, and, you know, I'm just so grateful for that. And as I said, I just can't imagine being here today without Fantastic Beasts. So as I said, this has been a bit of an emotional podcast. It's a bit weird for me because usually I record over stuff and go back and record over it, but because I wanted to just get this out the way, I wanted to get this out in the open. There's been no stopping and starting, really. It's just been me straight talking. So yeah, I want to thank you guys for listening, if you have been listening to the podcast. So hopefully the next episode won't be nearly as depressing. Hopefully I'll be able to do something a bit more fun for the next one. But in the meantime, if you like what I do, feel free to like the video, leave a comment in the description, subscribe, you know, send me some love, all of that kind of stuff. Before we finish, I need to do the Beast of the Podcast, and this Beast of the Podcast is... Let me think. It is... Okkumis. I'm going to go with Okkumis. I can't remember if I've done Okkumis before, but I just love the Okkumis. That took me a while to get, but the Okkumis. So Okkumis are just... What's the word they use? It's I can't even pronounce it, but it means that they shrink or they grow to fit the available space. And, you know, I just have this memory of that scene. It's just like, you got like Dougal on Jacob's back, and you got Queenie like with a colander on her head, and Tina being a badass, like jumping through midair with a teapot held out, and the cockroach, and it just, Okkumis. I've got like a little Lego Okkumi that I should really, really take more pictures of for my Instagram. But yeah, so that is the end of this week's podcast, or this podcast, I should say. As I said, if you guys have anything you want to talk about, or, you know, something you want to like say, like maybe you want to be on the podcast, just, you know, hit me up, let me know. And yeah, just remember to follow me on my accounts. I've left all my account details in the description below. And I will see you guys next time. Bye!